What's up, Guardians? Profane here. Thanks for checking out the video. Today we're diving into some exciting updates coming to Destiny 2 with the new Revenant episode, and we'll be looking at how these changes are going to affect your current builds, because there's quite a few exotics that will benefit greatly from some of these changes. If you're a Titan main, get ready, because there are some massive changes coming that are going to shift the way that we play this class, especially with new Barricade mechanics and overall buffs to Titan abilities. But Warlocks and Hunters will be getting several updates to keep those classes in line with Titans. Before we talk about any specific class, let's talk about the much needed change to Overshields. Void Overshields for all classes will be getting a much needed buff. Its damage resistance is increasing from 50% to 70% while in PvE, greatly boosting your overall survivability when using builds that rely on Void Overshields, like Hunters with Gerfalcon Hauberk, or Titans with a no backup plans. Overall, Titans are about to get a lot tankier. With the introduction of a taunt mechanic, Titans will now be able to pull aggro from enemies with barricades, essentially taking on the role of a traditional tank in MMO terms. Titan barricades now taunt enemies that are in front of the barricade, but only if there's a player standing behind it. This means that Titans can shield their fire team from enemy fire by drawing aggro directly onto the barricade, making team play much safer than ever before. And it doesn't stop there. Titan's Unbreakable Shield and Sentinel Shield's Guard will now taunt enemies, letting you act as a mobile tank, drawing fire while your teammates can focus on DPS. While most enemies will focus on the barricade, there are still some exceptions. High priority enemies like Vex Wyvern or Cabal Legionnaire who are on a mission might ignore that barricade, but for general rank and file enemies, this mechanic is going to make a massive difference. These changes will improve the performance of quite a few underperforming exotics, like the Arbor Warden, which grants a throwable barricade, the Ursa Furiosa, which grants super energy whenever blocking damage, or the Chitin Ramparts, which grants you and allies the ability to shoot through towering barricades. To support this new taunting mechanic, Bungie has buffed the Barricade and Unbreakable abilities. Combatants will now deal 50% less damage to your barricade. Splash damage protection has increased from 20% to 60% for any player who's behind a barricade. Barricades even grant damage resistance during their casting animation. And for Unbreakable, it's not just about defense anymore. Damage blocked by Unbreakable will now grant grenade energy, giving you more tools for crowd control. Moving on to the Prismatic Titans, while they get all the benefits of the changes to Barricades and Unbreakable, they're also receiving buffs to several other abilities. Consecration and Diamond Lance abilities will now shatter stasis crystals. Knockout is getting a revert of a previous nerf that had too much of a negative impact. Melee kills will now cancel health and shield stun in addition to healing, allowing you to immediately start regenerating health, making it easier to survive in tough PvE situations. Shiver Strike is getting a boost as well, with a stasis explosive effect that slows and freezes enemies upon impact. Titans are also getting a buff to their unpowered melee attacks, increasing their damage by 5% against any player and 20% against PvE combatants. On top of that, roaming supers like Glacial Quake, Twilight Arsenal, and Fist of Havoc are getting substantial updates to improve their overall performance and efficiency. So what does this all mean for Titan mains? Titans are evolving into a class that not only dishes out damage, but also takes on a much more significant role in protecting their team, which is really going to make a change in in-game content. Titans will also be getting a few exotic reworks whenever Revenant launches. We don't know the full details as of yet, but we do know that there will be a few underperforming exotic class item perks getting full updates, and the Mask of the Quiet One is also set to see some reworks. Switching gears over to Warlocks, Bungie has focused on making supers feel like the ultimate expression of a Guardian's power. Specifically, roaming supers like Storm Trance, Chaos Reach, and Nova Warp are all getting important buffs to survivability and damage. Storm Trance is getting its damage resistance bumped up from 53% to 58%, meaning you can stay in the fight longer while frying enemies with arc lightning. This will really help builds that utilize the Fallen Sunstar or Crown of Tempest excel throughout this upcoming episode. Chaos Reach sees a similar buff to damage resistance, increasing from 45% to 55%, which should see the Geomag stabilizers become a much stronger option to use in in-game content. Nova Warp is getting a huge 20% damage buff in PvE, and now, regardless of how long you've charged your detonation, it will always apply volatile to enemies. Plus, its damage resistance is getting increased from 51% to 58%, making it a much more viable option for Warlocks in harder content, which is good news for any lovers of the Astrocyte verse. Like Titans, Warlocks will also see some exotic class item perks getting adjusted, and exotic armor, but as of right now, we only know that the Skull of Dire Ahamkara will see adjustments. And now we move on to Hunters, who are also getting a buff to their supers. Golden Gun, both Marksman and Deadshot variants, are receiving a 30% damage increase against base, elite, and mini-boss combatants, which should promote Hunters to use Golden Gun in crowd control scenarios, rather than just saving it for big boss enemies. Spectral Blades is getting a 20% damage increase in PvE, and its damage resistance is being bumped up from 47% to 58%, which will help Hunters survive longer while slicing through enemies. With Spectral Blades having increased resistance and damage, the Gwisen Vest exotic chest piece might finally become a viable option in PvE. On top of these changes, Hunters will see reworks getting made to the Blight Ranger exotic helmet, and underperforming exotic class item perks. To go along with all the class-specific updates, we can expect to see a few exotic weapons getting reworked. We don't know the full extent of these changes, but we do know that the Huckleberry, the Chaperone, the Bad Juju, the Exdaris, and the Prospector are all on the docket to get reworked. There's also a few legendary weapon traits that will have improvements made, including Iron Banner specific perks, Slideways, Alloy Mag, and Master of Arms. We're also going to see a couple of legendary archetypes get reworked, like Rapid Fire Grenade Launchers. These changes promise to make each class even more formidable, allowing for deeper customization and more varied strategies as we move deeper into the final shape. As someone who's a big fan of Titans, I'm really excited about all the changes to the Barricades and Unbreakable, and I can't wait to try out the Arbor Warden once these changes go into effect. But I'd love to hear your thoughts about all these changes and what builds you expect to be using during Revenant. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. Thank you as always for checking out the video. If you enjoyed and found it helpful, then be sure to hit that like button below, along with the subscribe button if you're new. Both are greatly appreciated, and both really do help support the channel. If you're a new Light Guardian, just starting your journey, or a battle-hardened veteran, just looking for a new place to call home, then be sure to check out the Discord link that's down in the description, and join one of the greatest communities in all of Destiny. And until next time, Guardians, this has been Profane, wishing you all some happy hunting.